entanglements my poor boy may have gotten himself into. I will never approach him with it after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. On occasions such as this, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you? This is no time for wearing a shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
I am pleased to say that I have never seen a spade. It's obvious that our social spheres have been widely different.
Shall I make tea here as usual, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh, a great many. From one of the hills nearby, you can see nearly 5 counties.
5 counties. I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that is why you live in town?
Quite a well-kept garden, this is, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I have no idea there are any flowers in the country.
Oh, flowers are as common here, Miss Fairfax, as people are in London.
Personally, I can't understand how anybody manages to exist in the country. If anybody who's anybody does. The country always bores me to death.
Oh, that is what the newspapers are calling agricultural depression, is it not? I fear the aristocracy are suffering greatly from it just at present. It is almost an epidemic amongst them, I am told. May I offer you some tea?
Thank you, detestable girl. I require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is rarely seen at the best houses nowadays.
How about Miss Fairfax?
You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar, and though I asked most distinctly for bread and butter, you have given me cake. I warn you, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
To save my poor trusting boy from the machinations of any other girl, there are no lengths to which I would not go.
From the moment I met you, I felt you were false and deceitful. I am never deceived in such matters. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
It seems to me, Miss Fairfax, that I am trespassing on your valuable time. No doubt you have many other calls of a similar nature to make in the neighbourhood.
Ernest! No!
Gwendolyn, darling.
A moment. Are you engaged to marry to this young lady?
Dear little Cecily. Of course not. What could have put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I knew there must be some mistake, dear Gwendolyn, as the man whose arm is currently around your waist is my guardian. This is Uncle Jack.
I beg your pardon?
This is Mr. John Worthing.
John? Oh.
Here, Ernest.
My own love.
A moment. Pray answer me this question. Are you engaged to be married to this young lady?
To what young lady? Good heavens! Gwendolyn!
Yes, good heavens, I mean to Gwendolyn.
Of course not. What could have put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I felt there must have been some slight error, Miss Cardew. The gentleman who is now embracing you is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Oh, Mr. Algernon Moncrief. Is your name really Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Oh.
Is your name really John?
I could deny it if I liked. I could deny it if I liked. But my name certainly is John. It has been John for years.
A gross deception has been practised on both of us.
My poor wounded Cecily.
My sweet wronged Gwendolyn.
You will call me sister, will you not? present.
Gwendolen. Cecily. It is very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth. It is the first time in my life that I have ever been reduced to such a painful position. And I am really quite inexperienced in doing anything of the kind. However, I will tell you quite frankly that I have no brother. I have no brother at all. I never had a brother in my life, and I certainly have not the smallest intention of ever having one in the future.
No brother at all?
None.
Had you never a brother of any kind?
Never. Not even of any kind.
I'm afraid it's quite clear, Cecily, that neither of us is engaged to be married to anyone.
No, it is not a very nice situation for a young girl to find herself in, is it?
Let us go into the house. They will hardly venture to come after us there.
Yes. Men are so cowardly, aren't they?
This ghastly state of things is what you call Bunbury, I suppose.
Yes, and a perfectly wonderful Bunbury it is too. The most wonderful Bunbury I've ever had in my life.
Well, you have no right whatsoever to Bunbury here.
That is absurd. One has a right to Bunbury wherever one chooses. Every serious Bunburyist knows that.
Serious Bunburyist? Good heavens.
Well, one must be serious about something if one wants to have some amusement in life. I happen to be serious about Bunbury. What you are serious about, I haven't the faintest idea. About everything, I should fancy. You have an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small satisfaction I have in the whole of this wretched business is that your friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You won't be able to run down to the country quite as often as you used to, dear Algy. And a very good thing, too.
Your brother is looking a little off-colour, isn't he, dear? You won't be able to disappear up to London quite so frequently as your wicked custom was. And not a bad thing either.
As for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I must say that your taking in a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that is quite inexcusable. To say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
I can see no possible defence for your deceiving her. You're a brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young lady like Miss Fairfax. To say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I wanted to be engaged to Gwendolen, that is all. I love her.
I simply wanted to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
Well, there's certainly no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
I don't think there is much likelihood, Jack, of you and Miss Fairfax being united.
Well, that is no business of yours.
If it wasn't my business, I wouldn't talk about it. It is very vulgar to talk about one's own business. Only people like stockbrokers do that, and then merely at dinner parties.
How you can sit there, calmly eating muffins, when we are in this horrible trouble, I can't make out. You seem to me to be perfectly heartless.
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. Probably gets on my cuffs. One should always eat muffins quite calm. It's the only way to eat them.
I say it's perfectly heartless you're eating muffins at all, under the circumstances.
When I am in trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. In fact, when I am in really deep trouble, as anyone who knows me intimately will tell you, I refuse everything except food and drink. At the present moment, I am eating muffins because I am unhappy. Besides, I am particularly fond of muffins.
There is no reason why you should eat them all in that greedy way.
I wish you would have some tea cake instead. I don't really like tea cake.
Good heavens, I suppose a man may eat his own muffins in his own garden.
But you have just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins.
I said it was perfectly heartless of you under the circumstances. That is a very different thing.
That may be, but the muffins are the same.
Algernon, I wish to goodness you would go.
You can't possibly ask me to go without having some dinner. I never go without my dinner. Nobody ever does, except vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I have just made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble to be christened at 6:15 under the name of Earnest.
My dear fellow, the sooner you give up that nonsense, the better. I made arrangements this morning with Dr. Chasuble to be christened myself at 5:30. And I naturally will take the name of Earnest. Gwendolen would wish it. Besides, I have a perfect right to be christened if I like. There is no evidence at all that I have ever been christened by anybody. And I should think it extremely probable that I never was. And so does Dr. Chasuble. It is entirely different in your case. You have been christened already.
Yes, but I haven't been christened for years.
Yes, but you have been christened. That is the important thing.
Quite so. So I know my constitution can stand it. I'm not quite sure of your ever having been christened. I must say, I think it very dangerous you're venturing upon it now. It might make you very unwell. You can hardly have forgotten that someone very closely connected with very nearly carried off in Paris this week by a severe chill.
Yes, but you said yourself that a severe chill was not hereditary.
It used to be, I know, but I dare say it is now. Science is always making wonderful improvements in things.
Oh, that is nonsense! You are always talking nonsense!
Jack, you're at the muffins again. I wish you wouldn't. There are only 2 left. I've already told you I am particularly fond of muffins.
But I hate tea cake!
Why on earth, then, do you allow it to be served up for your guests? What ideas you have on hospitality?
Algernon, I have already told you to go. I don't want you here. Why don't you go?
I haven't quite finished my tea yet.
The fact that they did not follow us at once into the house seems to me to show they have some sense of shame left.
They have been eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They don't seem to notice at all. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't got a cough.
They're looking at us.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly, it's the only thing to do now. This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, I have just one question I would like me to put to you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me this question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
So that I might have an opportunity for meeting you.
That certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, if you can believe him.
I can't, but still, that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True. In matters such as this, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you possibly give me for pretending to have a brother? Was it that you might have the opportunity of coming up to town to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon the subject, but I intend to push them. This is not the moment for German scepticism. Their answers appear to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
And I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
Then you think we should forgive them?
Yes. I mean, no.
True. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. Which of us should tell them? The task is not a pleasant one.
Couldn't we both speak at the same time?
An admirable idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly. Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That's all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? But we are going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you're prepared to do this terrible thing.
I am.
For me, you're prepared to face this fearful ordeal.
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of the sexes, where men are requested of self-sacrifice and some men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
The physical courage of which we women know absolutely nothing.
Darling,
Darling. Lady Bracknell.